The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Project Nerd as a whole.
I could let them know about the sorrow and the happiness that the future has in store for them. Maybe they could learn from it.
Let's dive deep.
Let's dive right in.
We're gonna dive deep into this.
Let's deep dive into this.
This is Diving Deep.
This is Diving Deep.
This is Diving Deep.
Hey everybody, this is Mia with Project Nerd doing the Diving Deep podcast, and I'm here with Carl Martin. Hello, Carl.
Hi there. So it's wonderful to be here today in front of my computer in my pajamas.
Nice and relaxing.
So hi, I'm Carl Martin. I am owner and operator of Shinka Studios. I've been cosplaying for about 11 years now. Don't do it much anymore because about 4 years ago I started doing props full time, and then as of about 2 years ago I started working as a full-time fabricator and creator for Vulpin Props out in Atlanta, where we work for AAA gaming companies making figurines and giveaway items, props, esports trophies for like World Cups and things, and just really high-end stuff.
Wow. So when it came to, back when you were doing cosplay, what brought you into wanting to do props? How did you graduate from cosplay into just doing prop making?
It was a weird slope. Mainly, I was pretty garbage at fabric. I'm okay with it, but like you give me a thing and you're like, hey, put this on your body. I'm like, oh, is it a shoulder pauldron? Is it a piece of armor? And it's like, Carl, it's a shirt. Put it on, please. Like you've known me for years, but it's been like a very long time since we've seen each other. My life has changed drastically moving out here to Atlanta and actually working in a full prop studio. It's really fun though. And like I said, it was a slippery slope into doing prop making. Once you're actually able to get products that sell and sell well, and you're able to make your entire living off of that, then that's when you kind of progress from cosplay into props.
That makes sense. I remember when when Moana came out and then you made the necklace.
Oh, the Heart of Tafiti.
Yes!
I'm literally looking at a batch of them sitting up on my shelf right now. I've got a batch of like 300 just made because they're so easy to make, but I've made over 5,000 of those.
Oh my goodness. So even though I had already been following you and we'd known each other and stuff, there were like, I've gotten to hold items that you yourself have made, but and it's funny because it was such a simple thing to, like, I knew it was simple for you to make, but you made it so well. And I just saw everyone that we share mutually and who were just on your page just blow up about it. And I was like, oh, this guy, he's gonna do the things for sure.
It matters a lot about how simple something can be and how you can kind of crank it out. I have a number of products in my shop that like I've got a ton of reviews. I've got really good things that I can make really fast. I try not to do too many complicated things on my Etsy just because I save the complicated stuff for like when I'm in the shop working for clients at Vulpin Props, because a lot of that kind of stuff is so high end and so high fidelity that I have no energy at the end of the day to want to work on things from home.
So when it came to like the Cloud Sword, that wouldn't be something that you'd work on, like something of that magnitude would not be something that you'd work on again outside of the now day to day.
No, I would not make another one of those. I have the mold and everything, and it could take me a day or two to cast one out, but it's so much energy that I don't want to do it. That being said, if somebody came to me with the right price, then I would do it. But also because of my portfolio now, things that I make tend to cost quite a bit more.
So on average I don't know how to phrase a medium-sized prop, like what to you would be a medium-sized prop, and then from there, how much like for costs in terms of materials? Do you buy in bulk? Is it like a one-on-one type of thing, or like it depends? How does it
Well,
work for you?
little things that are super easy, whatever. I don't really do commissions anymore just because like in the shop we'll work for Blizzard or Riot or even stuff for like Nintendo. And so a lot of our prices for making things are usually pretty high.
Mhm.
But at home, if it's just me, like somebody will ask me for a thing and I'll let them know a price. So let's say if I were to make my current Buster Sword at the quality that I currently am at, I wouldn't want to do it. So I would make the price a lot higher.
Of course.
I'm trying to be fair here. Like
Of course.
I am trying to practice mental care and taking care of myself. So I would rather not die on that sword.
Mental health days.
Every day when I get home, I'm trying to separate work from coming home and relaxing because I've noticed for a couple years now, like I would sit in my garage for hours after work. And so I'd be putting in 8 to 10 hours at the shop, and then I'd be putting in another 5 or 6 at home. And it was pretty much killing me. Yeah. It's nice to just come home, sit down, make food, play a video game, take my puppy for a walk, and then just sleep. So I'm trying to practice that a little bit more.
Has Atlanta been good to you?
The first place where I was living at was not so good. I don't I'm from Austin, and I'm from like a suburb of Austin where there aren't that many people. And it's kind of chill. It's nice. I never had to go on the highway or anything. I now have to go on the highway every day in Atlanta. I hate people. I hate traffic. I hate dealing with people. I hate dealing with traffic. Other than that, I'm in a good area, and it seems like there's good food and chill people around here. The HOA sucks, but other than that, doing great.
I am definitely not an HOA person. I live in a house that isn't HOA, and because I live in Texas. There's this one plot of land that's where I live, and this one plot of land belongs to the county, and so I can do whatever I want on this plot of land, as long as it's within county limits. But I don't have to worry about the town stuff. So
You lucky bastard.
Oh my god, it's so great! It's so great.
It sucks because they'd send a HOA violation and be like, "Hey, you need to mow your lawn." I get home at like 8 o'clock at night. Do you really want me to?
I'm not doing that, and I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to get it done.
No, yeah, I hate HOAs so much.
One day you'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah, hoping.
So, since we're all pretty much stuck at home, when the world decided it wanted to start crumbling down, how did it affect you immediately, and how is it currently affecting you?
So, in this really slow burn, shitty apocalypse we're currently in, it hasn't affected me all that much. I count myself extremely lucky. I know a lot of friends that are hurting right now. They're getting laid off from their jobs, and it's absolutely terrible. I know other shops that are having to shut down because all their work was event-based, and with E3 being canceled, with a bunch of other conventions just either being pushed back or they aren't happening at all.
Yeah.
That's their entire business.
Absolutely.
We are lucky enough, I'm lucky enough that I make enough money on my Etsy that I'd be okay. And I'm still getting orders, so that's nice. So I'm super lucky.
Good.
But also our shop that we work at is super lucky. We were talking about it, and we kind of turned ourselves into an essential business, and we're trying to do very charitable things for the community. We have every single 3D printer in our shop, so 13 of them, I think, currently pumping out face shields for doctors in local hospitals. And so that's what I've been working on all weekend, is cutting off supports for face shields. It was my boss's idea at Fulton Props to go ahead and print these out, and so that we can help the community a bit and put these together for hospitals.
That is absolutely superb. A+ 10/10 to them and you for doing that.
Yeah, we want to help the community. We see that the world's in a bad place right now, so we're doing what we can. And I urge all cosplayers or crafters anywhere, if you have the chance to help people, do it.
There's got to be a way to make it out of fabric. I don't have a 3D printer. I do know other people who have 3D printers, so maybe I could reach out to them and be like, hey, how many do you think you can pump out? Cool. Mail it or something. I don't know. Figure out a way to get it to them. But social distancing, because that's important.
Okay, so in production, you can look for @masks4docs on Twitter and go ahead and look at what they have. And then I know that
Is it the number 4 or is it the word 4?
It's the word for.
Okay.
So
Masks for Docs.
MASKSFORDOCS. Yeah, that's Mask for Docs on Twitter. A lot of supplies and information up there that you can go ahead and look at. Also, if you scroll down through our feed, there are lots of funny videos. Like we created the Gizzard, is what we call it. It is basically
What is that?
It is a bagpipe of rubber chickens on one of our airlines.
A bagpipe?
Yeah, you get bored in the shop sometimes, so you do stuff like that.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to look at that. I don't even use Twitter all that much, but that is something I'm gonna have to see.
And then also look up Joseph Prusa on Twitter. They create the Prusa 3D printer, and they have designs out there for 3D printing masks for doctors.
We'll make it a little bit easier so that way people don't have to figure it out for themselves.
Yep. So you just load it up, put it on your 3D printer, and go for it.
So let's say that you had been actually stuck at home and you couldn't do anything. For those who are also stuck at home who don't have quote unquote essential jobs, you as a creative, what would you suggest for them in order to keep their sanity, basically?
Well, I have my puppy, and he keeps me busy, which is good. But
Good.
there's always marathoning shows. I'm currently watching Tiger King. It is crazy.
No. Oh.
Go out, play a video game. I just picked up the new Amazing Spider-Man game on PS4 because I kind of want something I can kind of turn my brain off and play.
Put on autopilot, basically.
Yeah, pick up an MMO, do Final Fantasy 14, work on stuff from home. I'm actually working on an Aetheryte lamp from Final Fantasy 14 to put up in my shop, which is going to be really cool. And then there's Animal Crossing. There's always Animal Crossing. Everyone's playing Animal Crossing.
I don't own a Switch, and I'm very, very sad because, it's actually not for that game that I want to get it. I want to get it so that way I could play the new Zelda game, and so I could play the Pokemon. Like, I haven't owned a Nintendo item in a while, and I just want my nostalgic fix. I just want it.
I tend not to have a lot of time to play video games, unfortunately, but I will probably pick up Animal Crossing at some point. It's very hard for me to play games like that are basically like life simulator games, because in my head, I'm always exhausted. I'm like, oh man, I gotta live another life. At least I get to be around cute animal characters. Hope this doesn't awaken something inside of me.
Oh no. That's a perspective right there.
I mean, I can't not play it if I'm wearing animal ears at the time. It's fine.
I'm gonna have to go search. Oh, I'm currently in my office, which absolutely needs to be organized. But I'm looking at my succubus headdress, and I'm like, that would be really bad to wear while playing a game like that. So if I have something else,
I'll just pop on Cloud's wig or something.
Oh, see, there you go. I imagine his sword was very difficult to make, but at Vulpin Props, what has been the most difficult thing that you've had to make?
So there are many things that that have been really hard to make. One of the hardest things, trophy-wise, that we've had to do is probably the PUBG World Cup. There's so many different angles to it. It was very hard to kind of put together and seam up and actually work, but I mean, got it done, got it out. It was perfect. It looked beautiful. As far as actual projects go, last year for Anime Expo, and I'm trying to think of the convention that Warframe has, Tennicon, I think it is. So we had to do simultaneous projects at the same time. One was for MiHoYo. We had to create a giant standing dragon for Anime Expo called Benares, and Benares was coming like halfway through the wall, and We had 3 weeks to do it.
Holy shiitake mushrooms.
And
That is
then,
insane.
yeah. And then at the same time, we had to make a 5-foot tall robot chicken thing, kind of a pet from Warframe called the Moa with full lights. Had to do welding for it, had to do lots of things. Like there were good 200 plus 3D prints on it that had to be done. We have a team of 5 people in the shop, and we had to bring on, I think, 3 or 4 contractors and manage everything and get both these jobs done at the same time.
What was something that you didn't know how to do before working there that you've become very proficient in? Or just in general, things you didn't know before that you know now after working there?
Well, it's a lot of repetition and figuring out, hey, this didn't work. Let's go ahead and figure out how it can work. Because, I don't know, from day to day, we work on so many different things that it's never the same. Like one day we'll be sanding 3D prints. Next day we'll be creating injection molds for little figurines. Day after that we'll be carving foam. We'll be fabricating things. Like whenever we did the vacuum for Nintendo for Luigi's Mansion 3 that just came out.
Oh my goodness.
Press events. And had to do a lot of just base fabrication where we would cut tubes and have to sand them down, make sure they were perfect in order to make a like the vacuum portion where it's like the line to the front of it, and we have to make a working vacuum.
What?
Yeah, so my boss had to R&D creating like an actual vacuum on the inside of the backpack that pushed air. Yeah, and we had to wire all that up and make sure everything worked and put it all together. It's just very different things from day to day. You learn a lot about painting, you learn a lot about finishing work, because every single person in the shop can pretty much pick up a project from where it currently is at and keep going with it. Yeah, no matter what step it's at. And it's just a lot of really, really good, talented artists that are good at communication.
That is a very well-oiled machine.
It works extremely well. I've talked about this before, but in a studio environment, it's very easy to get annoyed with someone or just not have somebody that you work well with. You know, you can go to a day-to-day 9-to-5 job, which I've had before, and you'll like somebody 50, 60%, and you can work with them. You're working in such close quarters and you have to pass work off from person to person in this case, that you have to like them like 90% plus in order to have a decent day. But people I work with, we are all really good about having filters, and we all have pretty much the same ideas. Everyone is very kind. We're not critical on things. Everyone takes criticism well. Ooh. And everyone's a friend pretty much. Like everybody in the shop is like a best friend to me, even my boss. We just get along super well. I mean, you're going to get along most of the time if you're sitting there sanding, and you can marathon Disney movies half the day.
Stop. That sounds like a dream.
Yeah. So we're very lucky in doing what we do. It can be extremely stressful sometimes, but it's nice to be able to kind of relax sometimes while working on this stuff, kind of turn off your brain while you're sanding.
Sure. Just be on, sometimes autopilot's just really nice because you do this weird type of escape thing that you don't realize that you're doing, but that you apparently needed. When it comes to the delivery of specifically your huge ones, like for events and stuff, do you guys get to attend these events, or how does that work for the studio?
Depends on the project. Depends on the budget, because for like Benares and the MOA last year, we had to send somebody up to Canada for TennaCon, and we had to send 3 people out for Benares because it's so big. We have to make custom crates most of the time for any of our stuff. So if you actually go to vulpinprops.com, there is a crate calculator that we have on there that you can put in all the numbers, all the dimensions of what you are currently shipping, and it will calculate the size of each part of the crate for you, and so you can just spit out a crate. It's really helpful, really useful.
Sounds like it's helpful for you guys too.
Yeah. So we use our own stuff, which is obviously because it works. We're very proud of this, though. At Anime Expo last year, Benares, the thing that I was talking about, the giant dragon coming out of the wall, there were 2 really, really large earthquakes at Anime Expo last year. And it lived through it.
Oh my god!
So it makes us feel really good that we can make something that high fidelity and still have it work. I mean, this thing was huge. It weighed a lot. We literally had to put the head on it with a ladder, and it spewed smoke and everything. It had lights everywhere.
Could you fit inside it?
My boss spent quite a bit of time creating the pink foam base, and yes, if there was no armature on the inside, a person could fit in there.
You could say you were swallowed by a dragon.
Sure.
Oh, my goodness.
I've oddly spent a lot of time in the mouths of dragons this last 2 years. Sounds weird, but we do the cursed trophies for Fandom Entertainment and a couple other companies now, but gotta get in there with an X-Acto knife and sandpaper and sand those down in the mouth. Of course, there's Benares. And then also we got done in January with a project for Bethesda and the Elder Scrolls Online series. They wanted 2 heads wall-mounted of one of their dragons from their game called Calgronted. And so my boss sculpted it. I did a lot of the teeth. I did a lot of I did the tongue. I did a lot of the mouth work. So when can I put in as a dragon dentist is my question.
When can you what?
Put in a resume as a dragon dentist. Because I spent a lot of time in dragons' mouths.
I think now sounds great.
I mean, you can only spend so much time. But that was a fun project. I really enjoyed that because it was a lot of natural things with the sculpting and things that we don't get to do always, because a lot of our stuff is very mechanical sometimes. Day to day is always different.
What's your favorite thing to make? And then on top of that, the question after that would be, you're able to pick up anything through any stage. What do you think you're the most proficient at?
First thing was what's my favorite thing to make? I really, really like doing incredibly complicated molds, because if you do them correctly and you think it through all the way to the end, then the casting should come out no problems whatsoever, and it's basically done. Having something come out with no seam line pretty much whatsoever is very satisfying. And then doing 3 or 4 part molds that have to be injected or matrix molds are always fun. We started getting into the habit of actually just taking our objects in 3D, blowing them out just a little bit, and creating mold walls like that, 3D printing our own mold walls, so we don't have to actually do any of the buildup of epoxico and what we call seaweed and all this other stuff. We can just 3D print mold walls for a lot of our stuff.
What's a matrix mold?
A matrix mold is where you take an object, so let's say a trophy or something, and you put clay on the outside of it. You make the jacket of it, so the hard shell to it, and then you take off part of the shell, let's say it's a 2-part matrix mold, you take off the clay on one side, clean it up, put the keys into it, and then put the shell back onto it with holes put into it and one big hole, and you pour the silicone that way, and then you flip it over and you do take the clay out from the other side, put the jacket back on, pour silicone on that side, so it makes the mold last much longer, and it's a lot easier for certain things. So you're essentially, instead of doing a brush up, you're putting the silicone into the jacket, and it's going to fit perfectly every single time then, and you get better seams that way.
You just spoke a whole different language. It was a lot of science, a lot of math, and a lot of something going on there, and it was pretty great.
Yeah, it takes a while to kind of figure it out. My very first matrix mold, I had never done matrix molding before, and I'm an idiot, so the Buster Sword was my very first matrix mold.
What?
The Buster Sword was my
Oh my goodness.
It is over 60 pounds, and there's so much silicone in there. I had to use bars on the outside of the jacket to make sure everything stays stable. But yeah, it worked out because I sat down with 2 other prop maker friends that hadn't done matrix molds either. But we sat down for 2 or 3 hours and discussed step by step how it should go. And I think one of my strengths is figuring out things like that, is planning, is pre-planning, is looking ahead.
Or a future seer.
It's just, I've had so many things go wrong with projects that because we do things back to back to back to back, whereas like at home, I might do a mold every 2-3 weeks. At work, I do like 3 molds a day.
Oof.
You end up learning what works, what doesn't work, what silicones will react poorly to certain materials. Because for the longest time, we had problems with like Smoothcast 325, 326, which is a crystal clear resin, not curing correctly. And we kept trying to just figure out which thing would actually work and what was going wrong with it. Like, did we have to just post-cure it? Why was it shrinking so much? Turns out we are using a material called MoldMax 29NV, which would inhibit the curing of 325, 326 because it's a moisture cure silicone, but we didn't know that at the time. We didn't know that it would affect it as much as it did. So we had a lot of projects, things were going wrong, things were shrinking too much, and we just didn't know what was happening. But because we used the material and had to do so many times, we finally figured out what it was.
Trial and error, lots of it to get to the point of succession.
Yeah, and so it is a lot of wasting materials sometimes, but we've all gotten to the point where everyone has enough experience on their own in the shop that we can point out certain things like, hey, you should probably invent a mold this way. This week alone, I've been doing some pewter casting in the shop. So like melting down metal, pouring it into molds, and this is only my second or third time doing it, but each time you do it, you learn different things, like what color the pewter is supposed to be before pouring it, getting the slag off the top of the pewter, what heat the mold needs to already be at whenever you pour it, just getting the best results and all.
Your shop sounds like chemistry and magic.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before, but do you remember what my degree is?
We have, but I don't remember.
I have a degree in sports management.
What?
Yes, I used to be a personal trainer before this. I worked at an Institute of Martial Arts before I started doing prop making and all this full time. I was the most uncreative person in the world. Couldn't do art to save my life. My sister was always the artist in the family. I couldn't draw a circle. I'm not even kidding. I took no art classes in college or high school. Like I was terrible at art to the point where I stayed away from it. But somehow I slipped into this, and it just trial and error experience and doing what you love, because I love doing this. I love the people I work with, and honestly, if I can do it, literally anyone can. You okay there?
I'm still laughing at the couldn't draw a circle, so sorry.
I mean, it's true. It's literally true. I'm so bad. I was so bad at doing anything artistic that I just had to get to the point where my quality was okay. And the main thing we look at whenever we look at somebody in the shop, like if we plan on hiring anyone part-time or full-time, is do they have the quality, or at least close to the quality that we're looking for, because the techniques can be taught.
Of course.
So like I walked in with a bunch of pieces, like showing that I could work with leather, that I could work with doing casting in clear resins, in regular resins, that I could do painting with HVLP, and that I already had the quality of work they were looking for. But the main things that you learn day to day in the shop are how to get it faster and like certain ways to improve.
Would you ever do one-on-one training with someone?
I've done it with friends before, depending on, what they want to do. But I found that a lot of people will kind of fall off the wagon whenever we're trying to do it. Like I'll try to teach them some stuff, and like, yeah, I want to work on this project, but then I never see them again after doing 1 or 2 times of like showing them how to work with certain things, because it is pretty intensive. Like once you get it down, once you get the ideas down for any of it, like it becomes simple and easy. But it's a lot of people can't wrap their heads around certain processes down the line.
Do you still get invited to cons?
I do. I raised my appearance fee because I don't like to anymore. I prefer to stay home and just my
Chill.
weekend is my weekend. Also, if I were to do more conventions, I'd much rather not go as a cosplayer because, God, man, like I'm so envious of voice actors and other guests that they get to wake up at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, go get breakfast, and then they show up for their panel and they talk at their panel, and then that's it. Whereas a cosplayers put in so much more work than a lot of people, because
Oh my
cosplayers
God, yes.
have to get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, start doing your makeup, eat a granola bar or something, pop some Excedrin to make sure your wig doesn't give you a headache, and for like 2 hours get into your shit, and it's so annoying. And then the rest of the day, like your wig could be getting to you, like your makeup could be smudging, you sneeze and like there goes any type of makeup on your nose.
Yep.
Like it just you got to drink through a straw so you don't mess with the makeup on your lips, and you put yourself through hell, honestly. As a cosplay guest, and cosplay guests don't get as much appreciation, so I don't like doing it anymore because it's so tiring, and I put in a lot of time and effort into it, and I'd love to go back because I love to teach panels and I love to interact about props and talk to people and judge contests. I just don't want to have to wear a goddamn costume.
Imagine the times that you made a build and you couldn't use the restroom, and now you're stuck. You are stuck. That's my favorite.
No, I've had plenty of those too, and it's really annoying. If anything, I would love to be invited as an industry guest. That's fine, because I work in the industry. I do all these projects for all these companies, working for the AAA games and all of that. Like, I have knowledge. Pick me up and I will run one of the best panels you've seen for cosplay and prop making. But just please don't ask me every day to wear a costume. Like, I'll wear half a costume one day. That's fine, whatever. But it's so tiring. And I get so hungry, and then wigs give me a headache.
Yep. Well, that's the whole thing. You have some feels about that.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly doing that many cons anymore. It's nice to just go to a convention, and if we have a booth, kind of chill at the booth, relax, sell some things, make some money, talk to people. They're like, oh, hey, yeah, we follow your stuff online. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you for your support. And then just go back to the room and get some food and go to sleep at a decent time and wake up at a decent time and not have to kill myself.
Not feel the pressure to attend all the nightly events and make sure that you're here and there. And
I'm con old. My hip hurts, man. Like, the smell of got to be gives me a headache. Like, I got to be gone at half this shit. I don't want to do any of that.
You just want to do what you love. That's it.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I know that you put in your time and effort on so many events and so much that, like, it's just, I don't know how Yaya does it, man. Like,
oh my goodness.
I actually just got done. The last cosplay thing that I have done was like 8 or 9 months ago. I got to be a McCall's pattern model for one of Yaya's new designs for one of her bodysuits. And during the shoot, Yaya and I were just sitting there like, oh man, our bodies hurt. Why do we have to put ourselves through this? Oh God.
No.
That woman is a beast. Like, she is a monster. She is so much energy. Like, I'm tired just watching the shit that she does, because she has to deal with so much. And
she does the fabric stuff too. Like, she isn't just a cosplay guest. She handles all of that, all of the fabric things, and then she hand makes all of her own stuff, and that doesn't include her getting in and out of it, plus doing the panels and just
having to meet and greet and everything.
Yep.
That woman hustles more than anyone in this world, and she deserves all the praise, because holy shit, I've been around her. We did Here's a Cosplay and everything together, and she is one of the nicest people that I know. I call her Mama Yaya. Like, she's
that's
she's
a
so
cute
good.
name.
Yeah, she is a sweetheart. Her and Brian are both wonderful people, and I love them to death. She actually just came out with a book too, so looking forward to that. But yeah, it's so tiring, and I don't know how like cosplayers have been doing guesting for 10 plus years. It's just it's so much.
When you think back on Heroes of Cosplay, would you ever do it again? That's the perfect answer.
I have reservations, but I did get a bit of following from it, and I did get to get out into the world some. I think I wouldn't currently do anything like that because I am in a good place in life. But if I went back in time and were asked if I'd do it, yeah, I'd do it, because more than anything, I think I learned how to put up barriers around me and kind of watch my back and be more professional. And like I said before, I literally had a sit down with Yaya behind the scenes of Here's Cosplay. I was in my shitty 3-day costume that I made from Silent Hill because the producers was like, hey, we want that made. Hey, can you fly out this weekend? And I literally had 3 days to make a giant fucking costume.
Oh my God.
Behind stage with Yaya. And I was like, hey, how do I make it? Like, what can I do to actually have a career making things? And so for like 30 minutes, she just, God, she could have had so much more to do, but she sat down with this 130-pound little boy and just like, well, you got to keep your nose to the grindstone. You got to work hard. You got to be honest. Like, you got to let your work speak for itself. There's so many people that will blow up and then fizzle out because there's either drama or they do things that are just not okay. And so that's kind of just what I've been doing for years, is kind of just letting my work speak for itself.
Here you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's Vulpin Props was honestly like a dream job for me that I never thought would happen. It's something that like I looked at for years, and I was like, oh man, their stuff is real good. I'm never gonna get there, but we're just gonna keep grinding.
That is some inspirational shit right there.
Wake up and make that bread.
Wake up, get on it.
Yep.
This has been amazing, Carl. So we're going to go on ahead and end this, but I want to get all the information out there. I'm going to write it down, as well as need for you to speak it into existence here on the podcast, so that way people can find you. What is the best way to support you, to support the studio? Where can we find you, all that jazz? My personal stuff is on Etsy. You can follow it. It's Shinka Studios Cosplay on Etsy. That's where you can find things that I sell. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, Carl Martin Koss on there. For like Vulpin Props and things, the things that we make, go ahead and follow us. Vulpin Props on Twitter, on Instagram, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Perfect. You have been an amazing guest, and I super appreciate you. Laters.